That innocent cup of tea on your desk? It could be brewing pesticides, heavy metals, and billions of microplastics you never agreed to drink. That cup of tea sitting on your desk right now might contain something you never agreed to. Pesticide residues, traces of heavy metals, and microplastics breaking down in the boiling water. These are things most people never think about when they grab their favorite tea brand at the grocery store. You trust the packaging, you trust the familiar names, and you assume someone is checking to make sure everything is safe. For the past few weeks, I've been digging through reports from American health authorities, consumer quality tests, and scientific studies to find out which tea brands are worth your money and which ones you should leave on the shelf. I've read official warnings from the Food and Drug Administration. I've analyzed the results of independent lab tests on 20 different tea brands. I've also checked what scientists are saying about fluoride content, pesticide accumulation, and the microplastic problem that no one wants to talk about. So let me walk you through 7 American tea brands that raised the most concern during my research. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for when buying tea and which products deserve a second thought before they end up in your shopping cart. This information could change the way you think about your daily tea habit. Let's start with number 7 on our list. This is a brand you've probably seen in every supermarket across the United States. Lipton. The name sounds classic and dependable, right? That's exactly the point. The packaging wants you to think you're getting something premium, when in reality, you might be getting something entirely different. Lipton appeared in consumer quality tests alongside 19 other tea brands available in American stores. The tests checked for pesticide residues, heavy metal content, and the overall quality of the tea leaves. What they discovered was interesting. Traces of pesticides were present in the samples. Now here's something you need to understand. The levels were within the legal limits set by American and international regulations. This means Lipton can legally sell this tea without any warning labels. But think about that for a moment. Legal doesn't always mean ideal. The regulations allow for a certain amount of pesticide residue because completely eliminating it would be nearly impossible in large-scale production. The question is, do you want to consume these trace amounts every single day, sometimes several times a day, for years and years? Some people aren't bothered by it. Others want to minimize their exposure as much as possible. Lipton doesn't give you a choice in the matter because the packaging tells you nothing about this. The tea bags themselves add another layer to consider. Most conventional tea bags contain a small amount of plastic in the sealing material. When you steep these bags in boiling water, studies from multiple universities have shown that microplastic particles can be released into your drink. We're talking about billions of tiny particles from a single brew. Since most mainstream brands use a standard tea bag design, this issue isn't unique to just one company. The quality of the leaves inside also matters immensely. Budget tea brands typically use what the industry calls "_0", "_1". These are the broken pieces and powder left over after whole leaf teas are processed and sold to premium buyers. Fannings brew faster and darker, which tricks your brain into thinking you're getting a strong, robust cup of tea. In reality, you're getting the leftovers. What premium brands reject often ends up in your discount tea bag. This brings us to number 6 on our list, Bigelow. This is another brand that positions itself as something special with elegant packaging and a name that sounds wholesome and pure. Bigelow was part of the same kind of consumer quality tests that investigated 20 different tea brands across the USA. The results revealed patterns similar to what we've seen with other budget-friendly options. Pesticide residues were detected, but they fell within legally permissible limits. Traces of heavy metals also appeared in some samples. Technically, everything met the safety standards set by regulators. On paper, it all checks out. But the real question is, does the paperwork tell the whole story? This is where it gets more interesting. Bigelow sells several flavored tea varieties with pictures of fruit and herbs on the packaging. When you see a beautiful image of blueberries or peaches on a tea box, you probably assume there are real blueberries or peaches inside. But if you check the ingredients list closely, you'll often find __2__ instead. This is an industry term for compounds created in a lab that mimic the taste of real fruit. Your underscore underscore quote underscore 3 underscore underscore T might have never been anywhere near an actual blueberry. The situation with flavorings is significant because it shapes how you think about what you're consuming. When marketing shows you fresh fruit and green fields, your brain forms certain expectations. The reality of synthetic flavor compounds and industrial tea processing doesn't quite match up with that idyllic picture. Bigelow is doing what most large tea companies do. The question is, do you want to keep playing this little game of perception versus reality? The quality of tea also degrades over time. Large commercial brands like Bigelow buy tea in massive quantities and store it in warehouses for months before it ever reaches store shelves. By the time you brew it at home, that tea could be anywhere from 6 months to over a year old. Fresh tea should have a vibrant flavor and aroma. Old tea tastes flat and often requires artificial enhancement to be palatable. Number 5 leads us to Lipton, one of the most recognizable tea brands in the world. Lipton has been around forever, and your grandmother probably drank it. That history and familiarity build a sense of trust, but trust should be earned through transparency and quality. And Lipton raises some serious questions on both fronts. When it comes to quality tests in the US market, Tetley shows up alongside other major brands, and a familiar pattern emerges. We're talking about pesticide residues that are present, but still within legal limits. We're also looking at standard tea bag construction, which brings up those potential microplastic concerns. And of course, there's the use of lower quality tea material to keep costs down and profit margins up. None of this is unique to Tetley, but it's all worth knowing. However, Tetley has another issue that deserves a closer look. The tea bags used by Tetley contain polypropylene, a type of plastic used as a sealant to hold the bags together. This is the same material you'd find in food containers and bottle caps. When you steep a Tetley tea bag in boiling water, you're creating the perfect conditions for that plastic to break down and release particles directly into your drink. A study from McGill University specifically investigated plastic tea bags and made a shocking discovery. Brewing a single bag at steeping temperature releases roughly 11 billion microplastic particles and 3 billion nanoplastic particles. Let me say that again. 11 billion particles from just one tea bag. That number is staggering. 11 billion particles in a single cup. Since Tetley uses standard construction methods, these findings are directly relevant to their products. Scientists are still trying to figure out what these microplastics do inside the human body. Early studies suggest they can accumulate in our organs and potentially cause inflammation. Some researchers have already found microplastics in samples of human blood, lung tissue, and even placentas. We don't have long-term data yet because this is a relatively new field of research, but what's clear is that these particles are definitely getting inside our bodies. And brands like Tetley are one of the ways they're getting in. The company has made various promises over the years about sustainability and improving their packaging. And in some markets, they've made some progress. But as of right now, many Tetley products sold in the US still use conventional tea bags with plastic components. The only way to know for sure what you're getting is to check the specific box you're buying. Now at number 4, things get a lot more serious. This is the only tea on our list that has actually triggered an official government health warning right here in the United States. The brand is Eternal Finest OP, specifically their Black Lift tea product in a 100-gram package. The Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, issued a public warning concerning this specific product after they detected levels of anthraquinone that exceeded the legally permitted limits. Anthraquinone is a pesticide that has been banned for use in food production in many parts of the world, including the European Union, due to significant health concerns. Finding it above the legal threshold is a very big deal. This isn't just speculation. This was a real official government alert. That's what sets this case apart from the other brands on this list. The FDA identified a specific lot number, MT13LK. The tea was imported and distributed by a company called Vivi USA. That specific batch was pulled from the market because it posed an actual safety risk. This distinction is really important. When we talk about the other brands on this list, we're discussing quality control issues, trace amounts of substances that fall within legal limits, and general consumer awareness. But when we talk about Eternal Finest OP, specifically batch MT13LK, we're talking about a product that officially failed safety standards and was ordered off the shelves. The contamination in that batch could have posed a genuine risk to anyone drinking it regularly. Exposure to anthraquinone has been linked to various health effects, which regulators deemed serious enough to ban the substance from food production. Finding it in tea at elevated levels is exactly the kind of situation our food safety systems are designed to detect and resolve. If you happen to have this specific product in your kitchen, the FDA's recommendation is crystal clear. Do not consume it. The lot number will be printed on the packaging, so you can easily check if you have the affected product or a different batch. This case also illustrates a crucial point about tea safety in general. The system works when violations are serious enough to trigger inspections and targeted testing. However, routine testing doesn't happen for every single batch of every single product on the market. Most of the time, consumers are relying on companies to police themselves and follow the rules without direct, constant oversight. Sometimes that trust is well placed, and sometimes, well, it isn't. Coming in at number 3 is Tecan, a German brand that's widely available across the United States. Its German origins give Tecan a reputation for precision and quality. We think of German engineering, German efficiency, German reliability. The brand name itself suggests all of that, but does the tea itself live up to those associations? The answer might disappoint you. Tecan has appeared in consumer quality tests right alongside the other brands we've discussed. The results showed the same general pattern. Pesticide residues were detected, but they were within the legal limits. Traces of heavy metals were present, but at levels considered acceptable by current regulations. And the tea bags had the standard construction, with all the accompanying concerns about microplastics. That German reputation, it turns out, is more about marketing than dramatically different production standards. Tecan sources its tea from the very same global supply chains that other major brands use. The tea comes from industrial-scale plantations in places like Kenya, India, and Sri Lanka, where pesticide use is a common practice. Being a German company doesn't change where the tea leaves are actually grown or the methods used to cultivate them. Tecan offers a huge variety of flavored options with all sorts of fruit and herb combinations. These products raise the same questions we talked about with Bigelow. The pictures of fresh, juicy fruit on the boxes create an expectation that synthetic flavor compounds can't really live up to. You think you're buying something natural and wholesome, but are you really just buying tea dust mixed with lab-made chemicals designed to mimic the real thing? All just to activate the right taste receptors in your brain. Fluoride content in tea is another factor that researchers have flagged as something worth looking into. Tea plants naturally absorb fluoride from the soil, and it turns out that cheaper teas, which are made from older, lower quality leaves, typically contain a lot more fluoride than premium teas made from young, delicate ones. American scientists have published studies showing that drinking large quantities of cheap tea could potentially expose people to fluoride levels that start bumping up against the daily recommended limits. If you're drinking 3 or 4 cups of budget-friendly tea every single day, which a lot of people do, you might be getting a much bigger dose of fluoride than you realize. This becomes especially important for people living in areas with fluoridated water or those who regularly use fluoride toothpaste. The exposure is cumulative, adding up from all these different sources. The budget-friendly lines from Bigelow fall squarely into the category where this concern becomes relevant. Now, none of this means a cup of Bigelow tea is going to instantly harm you. The point is that the wholesome, premium American image doesn't always line up with the reality of industrial-scale tea production and all the compromises that come with it. You deserve to have all the facts so you can make informed choices for yourself. Coming in at number 2 on our list is Lipton, one of the single biggest tea brands on the entire planet. Lipton is owned by a massive multinational corporation with the resources to source high-quality tea and implement the absolute best manufacturing practices. They have the money and the capability to do things the right way. They employ teams of scientists and quality control experts. They have supply chain managers and sustainability compliance officers. The real question is, do they actually choose to prioritize that quality over their profit margins? Consumer tests in the United States have found the exact same patterns with Lipton that have appeared with other mass market brands. We're talking about pesticide residues that are within legal limits, standard issue tea bag construction, the use of fannings and dust instead of whole leaves, and trace amounts of heavy metals at legally permissible levels. Does that sound familiar? It should. This pattern repeats itself over and over again across the industry. The world's biggest brand is basically playing by the same rulebook as everyone else. Over the years, Lipton has also drawn extra scrutiny from environmental and labor organizations. Reports have documented some pretty disturbing conditions on certain plantations that supply tea to Lipton. We're talking about workers earning extremely low wages, exposure to pesticides without proper protective gear, and even allegations of child labor in some parts of their supply chain. Lipton typically responds to these reports with promises to investigate and improve conditions. They often point to certifications like the Rainforest Alliance, which supposedly verify ethical sourcing. But these certification programs have their own limitations. They establish minimum standards, not ideal standards. Meeting these minimums allows companies to slap a certification logo on their packaging without necessarily providing the kind of working conditions that most American consumers would consider truly ethical. While the certification looks good on the box, what it actually means is a lot more complicated. International tests by organizations like Greenpeace have found troubling pesticide residues in Lipton products sold across various markets. One notable test detected over 30 different pesticide compounds in samples of Lipton tea, some of which were chemicals banned in the European Union. While the levels were trace amounts, the sheer diversity of different chemicals is what's striking. When you drink a cup of Lipton tea, you're potentially consuming a cocktail of pesticide residues, combined with microplastics from the tea bags, combined with fluoride from the tea leaves themselves, combined with whatever else is present in industrial-scale tea production. Each individual component might be within legal limits, but no one has thoroughly studied what happens when you consume all these things together, repeatedly, for decades. Lipton Yellow Label specifically uses some of the lowest quality tea available on the global markets. The tea is processed and blended to create consistency across the millions of bags sold worldwide. Real tea from actual farms has natural variability based on weather, soil conditions, and harvest time. Lipton tastes identical every single time because it's been engineered in a factory to eliminate that natural character. The packaging shows beautiful tea plantations with rolling green hills and happy workers. The reality involves industrial operations processing commodity-grade tea with maximum efficiency for maximum profit. The gap between the marketing image and the production reality is wide enough to drive a truck through. And now for number one, the brand that raised the most red flags in my research, Ahmad Tea. This might surprise you because Ahmad Tea positions itself as a premium option. The packaging looks upscale. The price point is higher than budget brands. The company's story emphasizes tradition and quality. They have a heritage dating back decades, and they sponsor events and build brand awareness through sophisticated marketing campaigns. But premium positioning doesn't guarantee a premium product. Premium prices don't guarantee premium sourcing. In independent consumer quality tests, Ahmad Tea has shown up with results that place it among the poorer performing brands. This is especially significant because Ahmad charges more than many of its competitors. You expect budget brands to cut corners, but you expect premium-priced brands to deliver something better. When they fail to deliver that better quality, you're essentially paying extra for the marketing and the packaging, not for the actual tea inside. The situation with pesticide residues in Ahmad Tea mirrors what we see across the industry. Trace amounts are present within legal limits, and the same supply chain dynamics that affect other brands also affect Ahmad. The tea is sourced from massive commercial plantations where chemical treatments are just standard operating procedure. Paying more for Ahmad doesn't mean you're getting tea grown without pesticides. The construction of their tea bags raises the exact same concerns about microplastics. Their flavored varieties bring up the same worries about synthetic flavorings. And questions about storage and freshness apply equally to them. Ahmad is playing the same game as everyone else. They're just charging you more for the privilege. What makes the Ahmad situation particularly frustrating is the false sense of security their premium branding creates. People buy Ahmad thinking they're making a better, safer choice. They believe that the higher price tag reflects higher quality and safer production methods. This assumption shields Ahmad from the kind of skepticism that budget brands automatically face, even when the underlying problems are identical. American scientists studying tea quality have noted that price is not a reliable predictor of pesticide levels or overall quality. Some cheap teas perform better than expensive ones. Some premium brands fared worse than budget-friendly options. The only way to really know what you're getting is to research specific brands and look for transparent information about their sourcing practices. Ahmad provides minimal transparency about where exactly their tea comes from or how it's processed. The company's website offers vague statements about quality and tradition without the specific details that would allow consumers to actually verify those claims. This lack of transparency should make you suspicious, especially when you're paying a premium price for the product. The issue of fluoride content also applies to Ahmad. Their black tea products use the same types of tea leaves as other brands, which means the same potential for elevated fluoride levels, particularly in their more affordable blends. Premium branding doesn't change the botanical reality of how tea plants accumulate fluoride from the soil. So, what should you actually be drinking instead of these big-name brands? The answer is simpler than you might expect. Look for loose-leaf tea from smaller producers who can actually tell you where their tea originates. Companies like local American tea shops or specialty importers often source from specific plantations and can provide real information about their growing practices. They know the farmers, they know the harvest dates. They can tell you exactly which region and what elevation the tea came from. Loose-leaf tea completely eliminates the microplastic problem because there's no bag to release particles in the first place. It also frequently uses higher quality leaves since you can't hide broken bits and dust when the whole leaf is on display. When you look at whole tea leaves, you can see the quality with your own eyes. Fresh, loose-leaf tea from a reputable source gives you an authentic agricultural product instead of the industrialized commodity that mass-market brands are selling. Yes, loose-leaf tea often costs more per cup than the cheapest tea bags. But think about what you're paying for. You're paying for genuine quality, not just marketing hype. You're supporting better farming practices